So it's that time of the week again. We're going to start off in this video recapping my team from game week 5, show you how it did, and then we're going to go into a few talking points or a few key players in a slightly different format to usual, and we're going to discuss them from game week 5 and going and leading into game week 6. So if you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. With that being said, let's get straight into it. So all out for 52 then after game week 5, which in all honesty I was pretty happy with. It was generally a low scoring week and it was 10 points above the average, so pretty happy with that. My failing goalkeeper partnership failed yet again, and then Cucurella obviously blanked with that eventful game against Manchester United. The two positives, or even three positives really, Richards didn't keep the clean sheet against West Ham, but he did hit DEFCON, which he finished with 4 points. But then Nico Williams scored a goal, which was fantastic for me early on in the Forest game. His clean sheet was wiped, but still a good 10-pointer. And then Senesi, a clean sheet against a good Newcastle team, but he also hit DEFCON as well. So pretty much very positive, I think, in my defence. The midfield was very mixed. Gakpo has been a bit of a failed transfer in for me. Only 2 points this week in the Merseyside derby. Salah getting his assist, however. He was the captain, finished on 10 points. And then Semenyo didn't get an assist, obviously, in the 0-0, but he did hit DEFCON with the clean sheet point as well, ended on 5. So it was a little bit like what Iliman Ndiaye did last week, which was perfect, really. If it's going to be 0-0, you can't ask much more of a midfielder. And then up front, we've got Jean-Philippe Mateta, a decent 6-pointer, got a goal against West Ham from open play. That was nice. Watkins blanked again. A huge problem area for me and a lot of people, I can imagine. João Pedro, obviously, with the blank in that sort of difficult, chaotic fixture against Manchester United. I left a few points on the bench, was a little bit disappointed with that. Anderson hitting DEFCON again, so he got 4 points. Joe Rodon, I understand it. I'm glad I kept him on the bench, really. I was very tempted to bring him in against Wolves. But the clean sheet was wiped pretty early on there anyway. And then Iliman Ndiaye with the assist, and he hit DEFCON for the second game week in a row. So it was a shame I benched him, but in hindsight, I don't think I ever would have played him against Liverpool away with some of the good fixtures I had for my defenders. I always wanted to drop it from a 3 at the back, or raise it from a 3 at the back to a 4 at the back. I think that was always going to be the plan. So let's move straight on to some of the players that we need to look at after a pretty eventful game week 5. So I want to start off by talking about Erling Haaland then. He's going to be probably the most transferred player in this week. A lot of people wildcarding, including myself. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be looking to make that change from Salah to Haaland because of the next fixture at home to Burnley, but also the run of fixtures they have with Burnley at home, Brentford away, and Everton at home. I think it feels like a good jumping off point for a lot of people from Salah to Haaland. In the meantime, obviously Pep Guardiola has come out and said that he hopes Erling Haaland will be fit for the Burnley game, and just puts a little bit of a spanner in the works for people planning their teams and certainly planning their wildcards for game week 6. Now, judging by the words he has said, recovery yesterday, he didn't train, referring to Erling Haaland obviously. Today I didn't see him and the rest of the players, yet hopefully he can be fit for the next weekend. Now I just think, I'm hoping that's just going to be typical Pep Guardiola spiel and words, and I'm at the moment I feel like 85% confident Erling Haaland will be playing that Burnley game, but it just puts that little seed of a doubt in. And wouldn't it just be typical that everybody, or certainly a lot of the FPL community, going in with a wild card this week to get Haaland in, change other areas of their team, and then the big focal point, Erling Haaland is injured for the Burnley game. For those of you who are thinking of triple captaining this week, I'd probably, before you hit that activate button, I would wait until we hear more news and make sure he does train later on in the week. certainly even if he's a bit secretive in that Friday press conference, if we've heard that he's trained throughout the week, I'm sure he will be fine. But going to it, to the decision to bring him in as a whole, I think it's still a very good one. Obviously, any of you on wildcards, we've got that flexibility. We could jump off him at the last minute if it came out that he wasn't playing this weekend at Burnley. Maybe we could jump back to Salah then, potentially. But it would just feel like a waste of a wild card. The reason I've activated it so early is to jump and catch some price rises just before they go up. And also some price rises, decreases for my team before they go down. It would have been worth about 0.3 million swing. So I wanted to activate it early, so I just didn't lose out on that money. But 6 goals in 5 games for Erling Haaland. You can see why people are tending to look at him now over Mo Salah. Mo Salah is sort of a steady stream of points. He always will be, and he'll probably hit. There'll probably be a moment where he hits the heights of last season. But for now, it's just struggling to warrant the 14.5 million he is. And that 42.2% ownership of Erling Haaland, I'm sure, will be much higher come the Gameweek 6 deadline this weekend. So it's incredible to think that we're heading into Gameweek 6 and Ollie Watkins is still yet to return in FPL this season. Aston Villa themselves got off the mark with their first goal of this season against Sunderland away, but it wasn't enough really for us Rodgers or Ollie Watkins owners. Now, I think it is time to jump off him. It's something I'm going to be doing, and to be honest, most of us that are on wildcards, it's the perfect opportunity to get off him. As tempting as it might be, I think that's the reason I've kept him in so long. You're always looking at those next Villa fixtures, and they always seem so good. And you could look at them now and think they are good, with Fulham at home and then Burnley at home, and you think that surely this is the game that Ollie Watkins gets off the mark. And it could be, but I feel like we've been saying that every week. It's been 5 game weeks in a row. I've been thinking, right, I'll leave him in. I'm sure this will be the week where he starts firing. And I think a lot of people have lost patience with him. Down to 8.8 million as well. I'm sure that'll be 8.7 million come the Gameweek 6 deadline. Those of you who aren't on wildcard, you have that free transfer available. I think the most natural transfer, if you have the money, is those 2 transfers. You probably have to downgrade Salah to another midfielder and then upgrade a Watkins. Can you keep him? If it really messes with your transfer plans, I don't absolutely hate keeping him for these 2 fixtures, but I just think a lot of us have just run out of patience with him. And if you have that opportunity to get rid of him to a striker, even going a week early on Victor Gyökeres, even though he has Newcastle away, to be honest, I don't hate that either. He has a great fixture run after that Newcastle away fixture. So I think it is time to finally say goodbye to Ollie Watkins if you haven't already. So I'd like to talk about Bruno Fernandes just a little bit now. He's not a player that I ever really consider, even in previous seasons when DEFCON hasn't even been a thing. I just never fancied him, just because generally of the way that Manchester United have been playing. I don't always like putting, say, £9 million into a player in my team from a team who is really not performing, if that makes sense. But I am slowly starting to change my mind on Bruno Fernandes, certainly for this wild card upcoming as well. One option of mine is Phil Foden, but Bruno Fernandes, certainly as a short-term punt, Brentford away, Sunderland at home, Liverpool away is going to be very difficult. Then it's not the worst fixtures in the world when on the other side of that, with Brighton at home, Nottingham Forest away, and Tottenham away. They're not ideal, but even as a short-term punt, I think for 2 weeks, bringing him in on a wild card with his attacking potential and very good XG per 90 and expected assists per 90. On top of that, he can hit DEFCON maybe every other game as well. If you can get a bit of DEFCON action from him, I think he's a good punt. And if I compare him to somebody like Phil Foden, I would love to bring in Phil Foden because I love that upside. But Bruno Fernandes does have that upside as well. It's just whether that Manchester United performs in these games where they're expected to win. That would be my only worry with him. But the one thing you get with Bruno Fernandes is the security of minutes as well. He's guaranteed to play every game. And that's just a nice feeling. Even with a Phil Foden playing somebody like Burnley next. So I am on a toss-up between Phil Foden and Bruno Fernandes, but I am edging towards Bruno Fernandes for this one. And it's probably somebody that you could be considering too. In just about 1/5 of teams, and I wouldn't be surprised to just see that slightly increase going into game week 6. So next we have the problem with Cole Palmer and what we should do with him. A lot of teams that I saw that wildcarded last week really tried a lot to get Cole Palmer into their teams, but there seemed to be a continuing theme throughout this year. And we're just not sure if he's ever fit. It feels like every game week at the moment with Cole Palmer, we're going in not knowing if he's going to be fit, if he's going to be able to play, be on the bench, or play at all. Down to 10.4 million and good XG per 90 for goals, but he's had such limited playing time, and he's actually only scored 1 goal and no assists so far this season. For me, I just don't think it's a problem or a headache that we need at the moment. There's a good 3 fixtures there, which you would say Cole Palmer is definitely not essential for. The next 3. After that, with the Sunderland at home, Tottenham away, Wolves at home, maybe if you delay there, don't bring Cole Palmer in your wild card. Could even be a transfer out for you this week, as it's a lot of money to have stored up in a potentially big problem area. But leave it 3 weeks, and then you can reassess come that Sunderland fixture. I think that is the best protocol for somebody like Cole Palmer. 3 weeks should give you enough information. If he's going to be out completely, if this groin injury requires anything further, or if he's back playing. So for me, at the moment, avoid Cole Palmer, sell him if you have to, and reassess in a couple of weeks. So I'd like to talk about Nico Williams a little bit, but more specifically the Nottingham Forest defence. Now, Nico Williams, 6.6% owned. These were 2 fixtures now, with the Burnley last week and now at home to Sunderland, where you felt like maybe the Nottingham Forest defence could turn it round a little bit. Obviously, mid-season sort of changes with the manager has probably changed our thoughts as well as the performances on the Nottingham Forest defence. But it was another clean sheet that was wiped out. They are still to keep one this season. And Nico Williams is one of the cheaper defenders to get from Nottingham Forest. For those of you that might still own Murillo or Milenkovic, you're talking 5.5 million. And it doesn't take a genius to say that they're not representing value at those prices. This last week, I have obviously got very lucky with the goal from Nico Williams. It was a great goal as well. But it was, we've got lucky there that a Nottingham Forest defender has returned for some of us. But even with Sunderland next, if we're talking wild card, and this is what I've done, I've taken him out, and I think any of you with Nottingham Forest defenders, I wouldn't prioritise it as a transfer this week, but certainly on wild card, we have to be jumping off these now. Sunderland could easily score in that fixture as well. And then after that, you've got a pretty terrible run for Nottingham Forest, and it's hard to see where the next clean sheet would be coming from after that. So you need to be looking at sort of these players certainly DEFCON monsters, ideally. With Nico Williams, you're only 0.5 away from a Tarkowski who's hitting it every week. You've got Senesi, who is possibly at 4.6. I don't know if he's rise now to 4.7 million. But you've got Senesi, who's even cheaper. You've got somebody like Chris Richards at Crystal Palace, who hits DEFCON pretty regularly. There's a lot of options out there, and I think it's time to completely wipe our Nottingham Forest assets and accept that this is not the defence that we come to expect from last season. So then I'm just going to finish this part of the video now with a little comparison. It's probably been a running discussion for a long time, is which Everton midfielder should we be choosing? Now, as an Ndiaye owner, I'm pretty comfortable owning him. For those of you who own Jack Grealish, I was so shocked at how high he's risen. He's risen 0.3. His ownership is 22.7%, which is incredible. And don't get me wrong, there's an element of that was warranted because he had 2 great performances with back-to-back double assists. But going forward, Iliman Ndiaye should still be on penalties. You've had that added bonus in the last couple of weeks that he can actually get DEFCON points as well. 2 weeks in a row hitting DEFCON is a huge plus, especially from an attacking winger as well. It's quite rare to see that. So if he can continue that once every 3 games, you'll be delighted. But he's also more of a goal threat than Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish is a fantastic player. I do like watching him. But it doesn't always translate to FPL points. He makes a lot happen, but because of that, he is generally the guy on the assists. And he's not the one getting the goals, which we saw even when he was playing well for Manchester City. He was never really the guy getting the goals, and his goals and assist tally were never quite up there. Iliman Ndiaye has that potential a lot more in him, I believe. And he will be the ones in the box more likely to tap in and finish sort of Grealish crosses. The third mention, obviously, Dewsbury Hall. Now, if you're looking to save a lot of money, 1.5 million less than Iliman Ndiaye, obviously Dewsbury Hall is a decent option there, but I just feel with he doesn't get the defensive contributions, and there's a lot of players that you can consider around 5 million who are doing similar work to him attacking wise, a similar attacking output, but they are also hitting DEFCON. So the trend at the moment this week is Stack from Leeds. He obviously got a goal and an assist last game, and also somebody who can hit DEFCON pretty much maybe 2 in 5 games, maybe 3 in 5 games, something like that. So Dewsbury Hall is probably my second option. The other thing you've got to remember with Grealish, that the Manchester City fixture that is coming up in Gameweek 8, that he will miss that game because he cannot play against his parent club. So if that sways your decision as well, and come Gameweek 8, you're in a position where you have to play your Everton midfielder, Jack Grealish will not be that guy for you. So for me, the order to pick would be Iliman Ndiaye, Dewsbury Hall, only if you're looking to save as money as a 5th sort of bench midfielder, and then Jack Grealish would actually be my 3rd choice to bring in, surprisingly. So I appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video. If you did like it, please hit the like button and subscribe. It would be really appreciated and it would help the channel out. I'll see you next for the transfer tips video, which will have a bit of a broader spectrum and a few more options, should we say, for you to pick from and inspire some of your FPL transfers this week. And until that video, I will see you then.